The topic that you have given me tonight, the Noble Eightfold Path, this is a very common topic, isn't it? How many of you have never heard about the Noble Eightfold Path? Can I just see show of hands? There's nothing to talk about now. You have heard about it, isn't it? How many of you have heard about it? Okay. Yes. Although it is a topic that is widely heard, you have come across this Noble Eightfold Path perhaps again and again in various ways. Still, there are still many more things to learn. Even when I was given this topic, I took for granted and says, Noble Eightfold Path, I will just come and give you the talk, Noble Eightfold Path. Then the last minute when I browsed through the Noble Eightfold Path, something new came to my mind again. We can read, we can hear about this teaching. This is the central, basic, the most fundamental teachings in Buddhism. Four Noble Truths, Noble Eightfold Paths. They are related. The Four Noble Truths contain the Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path also contain the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths gives the summary of the teachings of the Buddha, or the doctrines, you can say. The Noble Eightfold Path is the discipline leading on to a, you can say, a richer way of life. And now, to start with this Noble Eightfold Path, I will not be going through in details each of the path factors, because we can treat each of the path factor as one separate talk by itself. However, let us first try to understand what this Noble Eightfold Path, what this training is about. I told you this is the basic, the most fundamental teachings of the Buddha. In fact, it is when I came across this teaching, Four Noble Truths, Noble Eightfold Path, that something struck me. Very rational and very reasonable. Until I began to read, until I had the opportunity to read and to contemplate on the Noble Eightfold Path, Buddhism was to me only the superficial practices that many Buddhists are still doing in the temples. And when I came across these teachings, immediately I said, very reasonable. Then I began to study. And in the process of studying, also sometimes argued with people, had certain views. I held certain views. Noble Eightfold Path says like this, like this, like this. That there are 8 paths, isn't it? Sometimes people say 8 steps. Once upon a time I had the view that we should first go up step by step. One step at a time. But that was the wrong view. I gave up that view now. The Noble Eightfold Path is to be practiced together as a whole. Now, in the Pali text, this Noble Eightfold Path is known as Arya Atangika Magga or Arya Atangiko Maggo. Or it is also called Majjhima Patipada. What is Majjhima Patipada? The middle way, the middle path. And what do you mean by this middle way, middle path? In the middle, is it? It is middle not in the sense that halfway between. That means if you have certain bad habits, if you steal, every time you steal $10, then you say middle path. Today I practice middle path, I steal $5, moderate stealing. That is not the kind of middle path. Or if you have been lying, constantly lying, then you say that, alright, I will do middle path. Right? I lie half only what I have lied before. Not that way also. The middle path, very clearly taught by the Buddha, is to steer away from 2 extremes. What are these 2 extremes? One is the extreme of sensual indulgence or sensuality. The other is the extreme of self-mortification, self-torture. Are you torturing yourself now? No. Are you indulging in your senses now? Yes or no? Yes. How do you indulge in your senses? How do you indulge in your senses? Hearing? You are indulging now? Listening to Dhamma also you indulge? How do you indulge in your senses? What is the meaning of indulgence in senses? Indulgence means to please, to indulge in your senses. Now, how do you indulge in your eyes? First, you understand what are the senses. How many senses have you had? 6? What are all your 6 senses? Yeah, go ahead. First, the eye. Then, ear. Nose. Mouth. Then, body. mind. Is mind Buddhism or Buddhists regard the mind also as a sense, sense-based, or we can say as bases, 6 bases. Do you know how to indulge in your mind? You know how. How do you indulge in your mind? Share some experience. Why? Sometimes, do you also feel castles in the air? Dreams? Yes, you dream. You indulge in certain ideas, certain thoughts, and you build up very beautiful things, Paradises, these things. How I wish, you say, how I wish I was a millionaire. And then you build what I'm going to do. Or else you think, I'm going to pass with flying colors, you see. This year, pass flying colors. You indulge in your mind and you will become, for that moment, you are happy. You open your eyes, time's up, have to attend to the class now. Now, indulgence in the mind. We can indulge in our eyes. How do you please your eyes and indulge the eye sense? Now, this is the season that you are going around shopping, isn't it? And looking this color, that color, and feeling this. Oh, yes. Indulgence in senses. The eyes, you want to please the eyes with colors, with forms. And the ears, sound. Please the sound more and more. This music, that music. This is how we go on pleasing the senses. Of course, some of you are nicely indulging the aircon, very nice and cool and feeling. Now, using your senses is another thing. We need to use our senses, proper usage of senses, but indulging in it, craving and clinging to those things, that it becomes a hindrance. And the Buddha, before he became the Buddha, he has indulged in all his senses. He was born in a family. He had all the things that the material world could offer to him. He had dancers singing before him, painters painting before him, musicians playing before him. So he had indulged in his senses. Still he was not happy. Now I am sure all of you must have seen some good shows, either video show or TV shows, and you are very happy. After that, after a very good show, what happens to your mind? Are you really happy? Fully satisfied? Or you want to see something else? This is it. That is the nature of sensual indulgence, pleasing. Anyway, the Buddha explained, to avoid that one extreme. He says avoiding extreme does not mean to say that you cannot enjoy, Don't get the idea that, as Buddhists we cannot sing, we cannot dance, we cannot enjoy. Enjoy, by all means, but don't go to extremes. Of course, the extreme to one person may not be. Some person says, oh, that is being very extreme. Sitting down on the floor, very extreme. And again, how to judge whether we have gone to extreme or not? Really, it has to, it's when you get certain effects, when you indulge in so much that your mind is, your mind loses the awareness of things around you. You only concentrate on one, indulgence. Mind is totally engrossed in the sensuality. The other way is when you torture your body, and then gives rise to pain in the body. Of course, sitting down also can give rise to pain to some people. Anyway, at different levels, at different stages of our practice, you have to take it so that it does not become too extreme to you. Those who have practiced it for some time, then they can sit for hours, and that is not extreme. But to a beginner, it can be extreme. So you have to take it bit by bit. It is a gradual path. The Noble Eightfold Path is a gradual path. And another important thing that you have to understand is it is called Majjhima Patipada. In English, we only translate this as a path or a way. Middle way, middle path. But the term Patipada implies something more than mere path, mere way. Patipada, pada is way. Pati is a prefix that gives the meaning of against. It is going against. It is a path that is going against. Against what? Against worldly tendencies. No? So the Noble Eightfold Path is a path which is going against the worldly tendency. The nature of the world, worldly life, is one way. Spiritual life, spiritual progress is another way. And you can try to have a balance. But the path to material progress is one. The path to spiritual progress is another. This Noble Eightfold Path, what is the aim of this Noble Eightfold Path? What is the purpose of this Noble Eightfold Path? It is to lead you out of samsara, to lead you out of the rounds, the cycle of birth and death. That means to lead you out of this mundane world. That is why it is going against the current, going against the stream. And of course, it is difficult. It is easier for you to swim in a river and you swim with the current in the direction that the current flows. It's very much difficult to swim against the current. You need a lot of energy, a lot of effort. Hmm? If you want to get into, one who gets into this practice is actually going against this current, the worldly current. That is why sometimes some people say, oh, very difficult to practice. But not impossible. And also, one should not practice this immediately to go to the extreme, slowly. The training involves the Noble Eightfold Path can be grouped under, these 8 path factors can be grouped under the systematic training under what is known as Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Moral training, Sila, Samadhi. Mental training, mental discipline. Panya, wisdom. This is the path. But where do we start? Again, some people have the idea that first we must start with Sila. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Which comes first? Sila, Samadhi or Panya? Which one do you think? Or which comes first? Sila. Sila comes first. How do you get into the practice of Sila? When do you begin to think about practicing moral values? When there is at least a little bit of wisdom. That is why the Noble Eightfold Path begins with Samma Ditti, right view or right understanding. A certain amount of right view must be there before a person gets into the real practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. And again, this Noble Eightfold Path can be practiced at 2 levels. One is the mundane level, the worldly level. The other is a supramundane level. Now, if we try to translate this Noble Eightfold Path immediately, if I'm going to teach you the supramundane level, then you will find it very difficult to go. Now, take the first path factor. What is the first path factor? The first of the Noble Eightfold Path? You all have read, you all have heard. First one is Samadhi, a right view. What is the meaning of right view here? What is right view? Right understanding. Some of you are used to this. What is it? Nothing is permanent. Yes? Yes? Oh, that's right. Now, there are quite a number of factors or quite a number of components to right understanding, but basically we can divide them into the understanding of the law of karma, the law of cause and effect, and the understanding of the Four Noble Truths. That is why I mentioned just now that the Noble Eightfold Path contains the Four Noble Truths. The first path factor involves the right understanding of the Four Noble Truths. The understanding of karma, the law of cause and effect. This is also a very basic doctrine in Buddhism. It is important. This understanding, this right view, is more at a mundane level. The understanding of the law of karma, when a person understands the law of karma, that means he understands what are wholesome actions, what are kusala karma, akusala karma. What are wholesome or good actions, unwholesome actions, evil, bad actions. He understands that. And not only does he understand what wholesome and unwholesome actions are, he also understands the root cause. What are the roots of all wholesome action and unwholesome action? Now, do you understand what are wholesome actions and what are unwholesome actions? What are wholesome actions? Or what are unwholesome actions? You probably know what the unwholesome ones are first. Stealing. Yes. 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 Many other things. That is not very satisfactory. Many people say, killing, robbing, stealing, and so on. No? What is this so on? When I ask people, what are some moral values, what are virtues? Oh, he says, do good actions. What are good actions? Virtues. What are virtues? Moral things. Now, all these are same thing. You are saying the same thing, but what are in specific? That is why. If you want to practice them, you have to know what they are. If you want to avoid the immoral actions, the unwholesome actions, you must know what they are. What are the immoral actions? What are the unwholesome actions? The Buddha has classified. We have classified these unwholesome actions into 10. What are they? Wrong thoughts, wrong speech, and wrong bodily actions. First, what are the wrong bodily actions? There are 3 kinds. Killing or destruction of life. Second, stealing. Third, sexual misconduct. All involves the body. Then, speech. What are wrong speech? Or unwholesome speech, or unskillful speech. First, lying. Then, slander. What is slander? What do you understand by slander? Do you also slander? Now, slandering. When you speak about others and cause separation. That's important. The important thing is you separate them from that. That intention must be there. Otherwise, it amounts to, it does not amount to that kind of slander. And some people gossip. They got nothing better to talk, they just talk. But some actually gossip, but they